Hey, fantasy friends. Happy Tuesday. Let's get into this Week 7 waiver wire. First up with our running back situation, we have J.D. McKissic. Now, the RB situation in Washington is not one that fantasy owners are happy about. Antonio Gibson has been relatively underwhelming. Gibson put together 3 solid weeks between weeks 2 and 4, averaging a touchdown and 80 yards from scrimmage a week. 2 of those games against solid defense in Cleveland and Baltimore. But in the past 2 weeks, Gibson has been ceding more work and production to McKissic. Whether fantasy owners like it or not, McKissic is here to stay. Now, this past week against the Giants, McKissic outsnapped, outtouched, and flat out outproduced Antonio Gibson. 11 more snaps, 1 more touch, and 29 more total yards. McKissic is not going to win anybody their leagues, but with all those running back injuries and canceled games, McKissic is able to fill your RB void as a low-end flex play. Add him in 14-team leagues. Next up, Boston Scott. With Miles Sanders' knee injury comes opportunity for Boston Scott as the next man up. Now, while the Eagles surely won't utilize Scott as a 3-down back, he will likely lead this running back by committee. While Boston Scott hasn't exactly turned heads in the first 6 weeks of the season, posting 18 total yards in the past 4 games, in the unforgiving wasteland that is the running back waiver wire, Scott is a good add in 10-team leagues and bigger as long as Miles Sanders is out with injury. JaMycal Hasty. Yes, the Niners just have so many running backs, but Mostert is injured. Once again, an undrafted JaMycal Hasty was called upon to close out the Niners' Week 6 win against the LA Rams, and he looked just fine. Now, the Niners still have a healthy Jerick McKinnon, but 2 of their other RBs, Jeff Wilson Jr. and Tevin Coleman, are still trying to come back from injuries. It does seem quite telling that the Niners leaned on Hasty to close out the game over McKinnon. Now, McKinnon does seem to have cemented his role as a pass-catching back, with the occasional game in which he's leaned on more in the run game, but Hasty looked pretty good for his legitimate action of the season in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He's definitely worth an add in 12-team leagues and deeper, as you should definitely want a piece of this backfield. Try to get one that is healthy and can play, though. Now, Giovanni Bernard. Mixon left the game for a short stint, but ended up returning in the second half. Mixon has been a very durable back throughout his NFL career, but no one is ever 100% safe from the injury bug, I suppose you can say. Mixon has already shown up twice on the injury report for chest and shin injuries, so Bernard, while not necessarily impressing this season, is a nice handcuff for Mixon and would be boosted in RB2 territory if Mixon were to go down. Real quick, gotta mention LaMichael P. Ryan just because of Le'Veon's departure from the train wreck that is the New York Jets organization. Now, at least Lev got away from Adam Gase. But unfortunately for P. Ryan, he gets his opportunity in the worst offense in football. Just don't even bother picking him up, and he is not going to get much done for you. And please, don't start him. On to our wide receivers here. We have Chase Claypool. Now, this is a shallow league ad as by now. The Canadian rookie out of Notre Dame, affectionately known as Mapletron, has most likely been snagged off waivers in some of your deeper leagues out there. Now, there isn't much we need to say about Claypool other than to get him. His numbers speak for themselves. 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks. The Steelers are looking to get him regularly involved in the run game on end-arounds, and he's both getting open against man coverage and out-jumping opposing cornerbacks. This combination of size and speed could mean that he might just be the number 1 target in Pittsburgh, even with Deontay Johnson returning and with Juju still in play. Now, that means something. He should be owned everywhere. T. Higgins. Now, I feel like we've covered T. Higgins in previous weeks, so we won't get into too much detail on this analysis. So just pick him up and be happy you did. He's averaging 8 targets in the past 4 weeks, averaging over 13 fantasy points per game over that span. If he's on your waiver, go get him now. Travis Fulgham, big play machine right now. Appears to be the only healthy target Wentz wants to throw to, at least the only healthy one, of course. Stress on healthy. We still don't have a clear timeline for when Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey will return, but they are just walking injuries right now, and it'll be a miracle if either one made it back and finished the season. This 6'2 wideout from Old Dominion has scored in 3 consecutive games and has guarded 16 targets in the past 2 weeks. Now, that's a small sample size, yes, but he goes against the Giants and the Cowboys the next 2 weeks. Might be a tough matchup if he sees a lot of attention from James Bradbury, but the Cowboys matchup is a juicy one. Fulgham is a good add in 12 deep leagues and deeper than that as well. Now, Tim Patrick. All right, so last we talked about Tim Patrick on this channel. We mentioned how we wanted to see if weeks 3 and 4 were maybe a fluke. Now, he seemed to be making good catches and coverage and to be finding openings against zone defenses. It was listed as a speculative ad, and we were hesitant about starting. Now Patrick has gotten it done in 3 consecutive games and even against the Chiefs secondary. He seems like a must-start for this foreseeable future. Now, last 3 fantasy outings, 12.30, 21.30, 12.10. Now, he can be added everywhere. Keelan Cole. Cole had himself a week. 6 receptions for 143 yards on 9 targets against the Lions. Keelan Cole has been having a fine season. The Jags can't stop playing from behind. Garner is going to be throwing the ball quite often, but he is going to be the prototypical fantasy wide receiver in the sense that he will have good games and he will have bad games. We just don't know when those massive games will come for Keelan Cole. He's a great low-end flex pay for 14-team leagues, but for leagues any smaller, Cole will likely frustrate a lot of fantasy owners. Still, you can't ignore the fact that he's either scored or gone over 100 yards in 4 or 6 games this year, and this lowest fantasy output has only been 6.3. Now, he's a speculative ad in 12-team leagues and a good ad in 14-teamers. Moving on to tight ends, Dallas Goedert. The offensive weapons of Carson Wentz just cannot stay healthy. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Jalen Reagor, and now Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz. This means Goddard has to be owned in all league formats. Goddard was placed on the short-term IR 3 weeks ago, so a Week 7 return in a divisional matchup against the Giants would be a great start. Not many tight ends at 6'5" can move as fast as he can. Goddard is a must-start with top 7 tight end upside with Ertz out. Darren Fells. Simple argument here. When Jordan Atkins doesn't play, start Darren Fells. And heck, reverse that as well. We saw what happens this past week. Fells was a great play for DFS. If Akins misses more time, Fells would be a solid plug-and-play option for the Week 7 matchup with the Packers, who just got whooped on by Gronk and the Bucs. We have the same argument here for the next guy, Logan Thomas, on this list this week as we did 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now follow the volume and the points will come. He's a touchdown-dependent tight end too, who should only be considered in deeper leagues. Closing off here, Trey Burton. With Mo Alley-Cox out with a knee injury this past week, Trey Burton took advantage of his opportunity. Even though Jack Doyle caught a touchdown, it's obvious that he's just not going to be the guy anytime soon. I mean, he has 7 receptions for 9 yards and 1 touchdown on the season. Clearly, whoever is the other tight end starting alongside Jack Doyle is who you want to play this season. In previous weeks, it was Mo Alley-Cox, simply a behemoth of a man. And this past week with Cox injured, it was Trey Burton. Burton is getting targeted consistently in this offense, in an offense with tight end lover Phillip Rivers, and the Colts were clearly designing plays this past week to get Trey Burton more involved as the primary option. Coming off 2 touchdown performance, Burton will be a waiver wire pickup for this Week 8 matchup for the Lions. As always, if you want more quality content to crush your leagues, subscribe so you don't miss anything. We'll see you guys next time.